Well, for the very latest this hour, we can cross live now to Moscow. The reporter Felix Light is there on the line for us right now. And Felix, first of all, what do we expect from Putin during this call today with Joe Biden?
Well, above all for Putin, this conversation, this talk is about the issue of Ukraine, right? Putin wants a guarantee, as it were, that Ukraine will not be admitted to NATO. And also, what is also interesting is that this kind of red line on Russian cooperation, or Ukrainian rather, cooperation with NATO has been shifting a little bit. Russia's position for a very long time now has been that Ukraine must not join NATO. But more recently, what we've been hearing from the Kremlin is that sort of informal military cooperation with Ukraine by NATO is also unacceptable. And I think this is what Putin will be sort of driving at hard in his talk with Biden. Now, that's obviously really significant, right? Because 7 years ago, of course, Russia did invade Ukraine. And after that, NATO became Ukraine's dominant sort of military partner, its military protector, if you like. And so this kind of informal cooperation has been escalating and deepening over the last few years. So what we are looking at is sort of Russia almost demanding that NATO and the West really take a step back in Ukraine and concede that it is a sort of a Russian sphere of interest, if you like. So very, very, very big demands from the Russian side today, I think.
We're hearing in advance of this call that Joe Biden is likely to warn Putin of possible economic sanctions if there is to be some kind of intervention. Do you think that kind of language will deter Putin? And perhaps do you actually think this intervention is likely at all?
Well, both, of course, are very possible. You know, we have sort of certainly the numbers of Russian troops on the Ukrainian border, something about 175,000, that would certainly cause concern, though probably wouldn't be enough at this stage for a full-scale intervention, though that might change sort of as tensions rise. And we've sort of, January has been talked about as a potential time for an intervention. We don't know, of course. Certainly, I think the sanctions issue is really important. The sanctions have been a huge net drain on the Russian economy for the last 7 years. Russia has registered nearly zero growth in that period. So it is a really, really big problem. And that is largely down to sanctions. However, you know, it's very hard to know what new sanctions could do. We could be talking about cutting Russia off from the global financial system, which would, of course, be a huge blow. But I think some Russian analysts at least are quite sort of bullish that they would be able to come back from it. So it really depends. I think there is certainly some leverage in Washington on the sanctions issue, but it's certainly not a cure-all. And I think the tensions around this question will certainly continue regardless of what Joe Biden threatens today.
Felix Light, live in Moscow. Thanks very much indeed.